just made the list!
The doctor will see you now.
I'm better than you, and you know it!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Around the Ring, episode 275. I am your co-host, Justin Hensley, joined as always by my co-host, Steve Long. Steve, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. How have you been doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's been a minute since we recorded.
Yeah, it has. Last thing we talked about was winter is coming, I think.
Yeah, we took, I guess a break around Christmas and New Year's. Things get busy around that time of year, so naturally we had a lot going on, but we're back with a massive week of wrestling.
It was like, after yesterday, because which was Sunday, I watched so much wrestling on Sunday that I didn't even finish watching the Hard to Kill pay-per-view because I was wrestled out. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch the rest of this tomorrow, which I did. But yeah, so I watched a lot of wrestling yesterday because I got a little behind. But yeah, we're back and we've got lots to talk about.
Oh yeah.
We've got our standard, we're going to talk about what happened in AEW this week. Because a lot did happen. I'm going to mention briefly some matches from Hard to Kill. But the highlight of our show, if you want to call it that, is we're going to be talking about Wrestle Kingdom 16. Oh yeah, which was a really good Wrestle Kingdom.
All 10 hours of it.
Yeah.
And then we'll top off at the very end with a top 5 best matches of 2021.
That's right. We have our top 5 list. Best matches of 2021. That should be an interesting list to discuss. Some of ours might be the same, but I don't think all of them will be the same.
I'm curious to see what we come up with.
Yeah. So what's been going on with Punk Lotto?
Oh, just finished wrapping up all the massive best of 2021 episodes. I spent so much time recording and editing all of that. I still never finished writing my Substack lists. I plan on doing that, but also school starts back this week, so we'll see when I find time to do it. Very busy lately, but we're back on the schedule for a normal episode this week. So really fun episode, but
very cool.
What's going on in Rogue One Radio?
Rogue One Radio. We've only had one episode since the last time you and I did an episode. We did a Welcome to 2022 episode on January 4th, where we talked about the Hawkeye series, the Spider-Man movie, and the first episode of Boba Fett. And then tomorrow we'll be doing our live show about episode 2 of Boba Fett.
Sounds exciting. And always you can find us on Twitter. That's Around the Ring OK. And we are part of the Red 5 network of podcasts, which is pop culture centered.
Lots of good podcasts on there. If you're into stuff that, that's not wrestling, comic books, movies, books, TV shows, whatever, any kind of nerd pop culture stuff you got going on, there's a podcast over there for you. So check them out at red5network.com. To kick things off, I think we've got a few pieces of news to discuss.
Yeah, there's a couple news items. It's funny, most of the big news stories from this week all spun out of the shows that happened this week, but there were a couple things worth talking about. So let's see. Do we want to start with bad news first?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, WWE went through yet another round of releases. There were only 2 names that really stood out to me. I think there were some others. But the 2 that really stood out to me were William Regal and Samoa Joe.
Yeah, they released quite a few producers and backstage people. Some of the other names I guess worth mentioning would be Road Dogg Jesse James, who was a producer.
Oh, wow.
Timothy Thatcher and Danny Birch and Hideki Suzuki were all wrestlers. I think Danny Birch and Suzuki were part of the Diamond Mine. So I think that just leaves Roderick Strong as the sole remaining Diamond Mine member.
Mhm.
So
He'll be next.
he's an old guy and he works at NXT. Sure. And Gabe Sapolsky. Now I'm like, is that the Star Wars character? Pod Racer?
Sebulba.
Yeah. Sapolsky. He was the guy who he used to run Ring of Honor and then ran Evolve Wrestling for a while before he became part of the WWE and Performance Center. So there's a lot of, I guess what you would say is just like really strong wrestling minds that they let go of.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I imagine Thatcher and Danny Birch will probably wind up wrestling somewhere again because they weren't retired wrestlers. They were just helping out with training. So I'm sure we'll see them pop up somewhere. Road Dogg, you never know. You know, Billy Gunn's over in AEW, so he might wind up being a producer over there. I think having experienced people in a production type role like that is probably good for that company because they do have good people, but you know, it doesn't hurt to have more brains, you know.
Yeah.
I especially hope they utilize William Regal for that type of thing. I mean, he could even still serve as some sort of on-air personality too. So I hope we see more of, I guess we'll call him Steven Regal again since he's
yeah,
he's on his own. But yeah, you never know with Joe either. Like, I don't know. It's hard to say what's going to happen with him. If he'll wrestle again, or I'd like to see him do something else, at least like a farewell run of some sort.
Yeah, I'd like to see him do something.
But all of these releases, they're all very tied to the Triple H gold and black era of NXT. So, you know, Vince and Bruce Pritchard and Nick Khan all, you know, making their presence known over there. So
just kind of taking over.
Yeah, that's fine. They can release everybody I like, and then I can watch them on product that I actually enjoy.
Exactly. Oh man. What other news do we have? I think we've got some ROH news.
Yeah. So ROH revealed that they are still planning on running a show WrestleMania weekend. It'll be, you know, the Super Card of Honor. April 1st. It will be at the Curtis Colwell Center in Dallas, Fort Worth. So that's in your neck of the woods, right? No,
yeah,
not by then though, right?
No, April I'll still be here.
Oh, okay. So,
but yeah, that's where I went and saw Winter is Coming.
It might be worth checking out. You know, of course, you want to see what the card is, of course, but you know,
for sure, yeah. But if it's a good card, yeah, I'll check it out. It's not that far of a drive.
This is the, you know, first show after their hiatus, the new retooled version of Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I did read on the Wrestling Observer that they're mainly only going to focus on 3 titles going forward. The men's, the women's world championships, and the tag team championships. Which, you know
start off slow.
And they'll primarily, until TV's back, they'll primarily be defended on GCW and Impact Wrestling. So,
yeah,
interesting little collaboration between those promotions there.
So, speaking of TV, did you hear that New Japan is going to be doing some stuff on Axis later this year?
Yeah, I think they're bringing it back for. I assume it'll be like the previous versions where they just broadcast older shows on Access with English commentary. which is good. It's a good place. It's a good way for people to experience New Japan in America without, if they don't have a New Japan World account. So more wrestling on TV is always a good thing. It's funny. My brother would like randomly text me because like if he was on, he texted me one time. He's like, "Did you know I see some New Japan on TV?" He was like in a hotel or something, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what are you watching?" And he's like, "I think there's a guy named Tanahashi in this match." I was like, "Yeah, sounds like you're watching." I think I narrowed it down. It was like from a couple months earlier, the show that he was watching, but he doesn't have a New Japan World account, and he's not the type of person to even really go out of his way to watch it. But if he's like flipping channels, he'll watch it. So yeah, I thought it was pretty neat.
Cool.
I had one last little piece of news that was interesting. So there is this, I don't know if you want to call it a promotion yet, but it is called Terminus. And Jonathan Gresham of Ring of Honor has sort of started this. I don't know. They have one show set. If this turns into a new promotion, that would be fantastic. But also, if it's just a one-off thing, that's cool as well. They announced that they sold out of tickets for their upcoming show on the 16th, which I think you can watch on Fight. So I wonder if that one looks interesting. There's just some cool matches on there that I thought would be interesting for people to look at.
Yeah, there are going to be some interesting matches. There's a couple of ROH championship matches.
Yeah, it looks like Bandito will be defending the ROH World Championship. This is interesting. So it's the ROH World Championship. Bandito will be defending it against Baron Black, who I think has been seen on AEW Dark.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jonathan Gresham will be defending the original ROH World Championship. So I guess they're separate titles, or maybe just for the point of the show.
Confusing. He's going to be defending against Josh Alexander. So that could be an interesting one. Moose is going to be there. A couple of AEW folks. Jay Lethal will be wrestling Lee Moriarty. And another AEW, Daniel Garcia, will also be there. He'll be in some sort of four-way match.
Yeah, I'm unfamiliar with the rest of the names. JDX, Invictus Cash, and Adam Priest. Don't really know them. Jordan Grace will be defending the Impact Digital Media Championship against Kiera Hogan. So
that's right. Yeah.
Impact and AEW match.
Yeah.
And Moose will be up against Mike Bennett, which kind of ties into the Impact show this week.
Yeah.
So I don't know that this will become like a really big thing in the future, but you never know. Selling out at least encourages the possibility of a second show. I think we are in an environment where, with all of these new round of releases that just went through, and ROH basically becoming an indie, there is room for a new company out there. So it would be amazing if this turned into the name that kind of takes off. But I don't know. Exciting.
So that one's it is on Fight TV, and it is $15.
Yeah, not too bad. That's a good price point.
Yeah, I think it'll be a decent pay-per-view to check out.
Yeah.
Is that it for news?
That's all I have, unless you saw something that looked interesting.
That's all I recognized. So segue in here. Let's get the quick one out of the way here. There was a pay-per-view this weekend from Impact Wrestling. It was their Hard to Kill pay-per-view. I had quite a few matches, but not I watched the whole thing, and there wasn't really a whole lot of matches that were just not something I really want to get into too much. as far as talking, doing any kind of recap. There was a world championship match for the Impact title, 3-way between Matt Cardona, W. Morrissey, and Moose. Moose retained. The main event was a Texas death match for the Knockouts Championship between Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo, and Mickie James retained that one. So the two matches that I thought were interesting were there were some pre-show matches which I did not watch. But the first match coming out of the gate was a Knockouts Ultimate X match. So this was a 6-way match, and the winner would be the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. So it had an interesting lineup. It had Jordynne Grace, Chelsea Green, Rosemary, Tasha Steelz, Alicia, and Lady Frost. And the main reason I even kind of paid attention to this one actually was because have you seen any of Lady Frost?
No, she's a name that I've heard you talk about, and I've seen her name elsewhere, but I've never watched any of her matches.
Yeah, she's a fairly new addition to the Impact roster. She's mostly just been kind of indie, but she did get signed by Impact. She's really interesting to watch. She's got a very, very entertaining move set, and if you've ever seen her, you know what I'm talking about. So she kind of made this match entertaining. Of course, Rosemary is always entertaining, no matter what match she's in. But overall, it was it was a good match. It was fun to watch. The result of it was a little surprising. I actually thought that either Chelsea or Jordynne was going to end up winning this one, because it kind of would have made sense for story, but no, they put the winner ended up being Tasha. So she is a good wrestler, no doubt. I just didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, she's wrestled a lot in my area. It looks like she did some Queens of Combat Wrestling, which is an all-women's promotion based out of Charlotte. And in 2019, she did quite a few matches for them. So the name was very familiar. I've never seen any of her matches, but I recognized the name.
Yeah. So then the other match that I thought was entertaining was actually the Ring of Honor Championship match with Chris Sabin challenging Jonathan Gresham. And this was a match that was fought under the Ring of Honor Pure Rules. So they were only allowed 3 rope breaks. And there was another rule that I don't remember what made it different. It had something to do with countouts.
Yeah, there is a rule for countouts, and I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, but it was a good match. Gresham won, but Gresham is pretty fun to watch anyway.
Yeah.
I like watching him wrestle. And then Chris Sabin is I'd say he is easily one of the better in-ring workers that Impact has. Just as far as in-ring talent goes. One of the better. I'm not saying he's the best, but one of the better ones. So those two together was a good matchup, and made for a good match, good entertaining, good ring work. But really, those two matches were the only ones that really entertained me, or I thought were good matches. Like the men's title match was just it was kind of a was kind of a scramble. I mean, it was a cluster. It was just like half the time you couldn't tell what was going on. Moose retained the title, which actually didn't surprise me.
Yeah.
And then the women's title match was the main event, like I said, and that one wasn't really as entertaining as I was hoping it would be. I think we talked about this maybe yesterday or maybe it was earlier today. I might be one of the few, but I'm not really a big Mickie James fan. I don't really. I mean, she's not a bad wrestler. I just don't find anything interesting about her style. But I was actually surprised that she won. I really thought Deanna Purrazzo was going to take it back, but she didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I Mickie James made weird news like she's going to be appearing in the Royal Rumble this year for the WWE.
Yeah.
Probably because the WWE fired all their women, so they don't have enough to fulfill a 30-woman Royal Rumble. But whatever.
Yeah.
People were saying, "Oh, the forbidden door's open." It's like, well, Vince McMahon doesn't acknowledge Impact really, so he's just bringing her back because she used to work for him. So
Yeah.
hopefully she gets to plug it a little bit, but I don't have high hopes. But
I don't think they're even going to mention it.
Yeah. I feel like the big news that kind of came out of, like, I didn't watch the show, so like as someone who didn't pay attention to any of the matches, the things I kept seeing about Hard to Kill were the Ring of Honor involvement. So Ian Riccaboni was featured in commentary, as well as Bobby Cruz, who did announcing, I believe, for Ring of Honor, and then the former Tom Phillips is now an Impact.
Yep. Tom Hannafan, I guess is what he's going by.
Yeah, I assume that's his real last name.
Yeah.
And then what was the other involvement from? Oh, at the very, very end of the show, right? Was it the OGK, PCO, and who was the other one?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I mean, Canella came in.
Yeah, Maria.
Maria Canella came in.
Was there another
remember. There was. I don't remember who it was. It was.
Yeah.
It just wasn't memorable to me.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just like, cool, we're getting a Ring of Honor invasion and Impact, I guess, is kind of the angle we're going for. So, yeah, good for them. Give them something to do.
Yeah. But, that was it for Hard to Kill. Not much to talk about. What else did we have? AEW.
Yeah.
Let's move on to AEW. So Wednesday night we had Dynamite, and that one kicked off with Hangman versus Bryan Danielson 2. So what do you think of that match?
I loved it. I also think I liked it better than the last match. I don't know if that's a hot take. It could be, I guess.
Might be a hot take, but I actually agree with you.
Yeah.
It didn't start off nearly as slow, pacing wise, as the first one did. A lot of that was like Hangman went on the offensive quick. He was like, "Yeah, we're not playing this anymore.
Yeah,
with your hijinks, I'm done with that." It was a lot bloodier than the first one.
Oh yeah, almost bloodier than I think they planned, because Bryan Danielson's forehead cut just like would not close throughout that match, and then Hangman's it was Hangman's blood that got all over Bryan too.
Yeah.
It was bloody. It was an intense match.
That's a good word for it. And so I don't know if it was surprising or not, but Hangman delivered the American Dragon his first loss.
I going into this match, I expected Hangman to win, mainly because his reign just started.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have called it an impossibility for Bryan Danielson to win this match, just because Bryan Danielson is a very legitimate, professional wrestler, and
Yes.
in story, he's been treated very seriously, so you could see it. But logically and booking wise, I'm glad they went with Hangman. I think Hangman needed this victory. He needed a strong, decisive win over a very important figure
Yep.
in not only AEW but in professional wrestling in general. So, I mean, the rivalry was Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page, but now it seems like Bryan might be the one that is going to kind of define Hangman's reign. I
Yeah.
hope.
You're probably right. I mean, because Hangman really had with these two matches against Danielson, he really had probably his best matches of all time. I mean, they were amazing matches, and I mean his, when he put him away with that buckshot lariat, that was just like, dang, that was a nasty looking buckshot too.
What I loved about the match is he kept trying it. Like he went up, he set up for it like 3 times, and every time Bryan got out of the way, especially that one where he just kind of collapsed and missed the lariat under him.
And then Danielson had him in the label lock.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, he's going to tap out, and he didn't.
Yeah, and then it was that little series. It's like after the label lock, he slingshots Bryan out of the ring, and then he lands the moonsault, the Arihara moonsault that he tried to hit earlier in the match. He lands that on him. He tries for another buckshot, misses that one. Then they start trading headbutts. Bryan, come on, careful with that head.
Yeah, let's not go there. That was now that you mentioned that was remember that, and that was making me nervous.
And then Danielson gets a Gotch style pile driver on Hangman.
Yeah.
Hangman kicks out. After that, he finally lands the buckshot.
Yeah.
He gets the win. I love Hangman. I think this is going to be one of those runs that if he continues to deliver matches like this, he's going to be one of those guys that his run gets better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny, the judges were introduced as a concept, but when I saw who the judges were, when it was like Mark Henry, Paul White, and Jerry Lynn, I was like, okay, judges aren't going to factor into this.
I was like, these guys are not going to determine the match.
Yeah. So they didn't pull out any surprise judges, which I think was smart, because the story of this match should have been Hangman winning, not the judges. Because if it would have been like a stunt, booking of we got Eric Bischoff, then that would have kind of taken away from the importance of the match.
Yeah.
So I think it was smart to just have some, recognizable faces, but they already work for the company.
Yeah, it was a good match. See, after that we had, MJF was supposed to have a match.
He did.
Well, kind of.
He did. Just CM Punk kind of ruined it for him.
Yeah, and gave MJF probably his first loss in, obviously, definitely in 2022, but his first loss in quite a while. Like, I actually can't remember the last time he lost a match. Chris Jericho.
Jericho, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was against Captain Sean Dean. He's kind of he's a dark wrestler primarily, but he also works as like a backstage kind of talent liaison.
Yeah.
When Punk came out there and like he hit Shawn Dean, I was like, what is happening? And then when they explained it, MJS loses the match on account of disqualification. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. He is starting off 2022 with a losing record now.
Yeah.
And basically CM Punk promised that, until you fight me, this is going to happen to every single one of your matches. So
yeah. And so so that was when MJF announced that Punk would be wrestling Wardlow the next week, which is this week.
They had a great back and forth promo. MJF's promo especially I thought was really good. I like the Piper comparisons being brought back up, but he also, said that, Punk couldn't main event a WrestleMania, which was, a sore subject for Punk when he was in the WWE. And then MJF and then Punk basically said you could go headline, you could leave AEW, go headline a WrestleMania, buy one get one free show,
and then get released faster than you last in bed or something like that,
and then come right back here, and I'll still be waiting. So it was a really good back and forth promo, for these two.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing what the Wardlow match looks like. Is this where Wardlow finally turns on MJF?
I don't know. Or is this going to be Punk's first loss?
It's a possibility too. I'm very curious to see what they do. They did a good job. So this show also features a Wardlow squash match, of course. They've been doing these for a minute.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but a thought just crossed my mind. I have a prediction.
Okay,
it could be wrong, but here's my prediction. Shawn Spears gets involved, and Wardlow gets disqualified.
That's a possibility. Shawn Spears, I feel like, will play a factor for sure because he's been in all these Wardlow matches.
Yeah,
I think. Okay, we're just fantasy booking this match now. So I think what we're going to have is Wardlow's going to have a moment of, contemplation. Like, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to, beat Punk or, do what MJF says or wants me to do?
Yeah.
Wardlow, I think, will still lose the match. And then MJF will probably berate Wardlow. Or, you know what? Shawn Spears might berate him. And then he probably will powerbomb Shawn Spears.
Oh, that'd be great.
And then whenever we get to MJF and CM Punk, Wardlow might cost MJF the match. I think that's when the full turn will be. I think will be the Punk MJF match. But, we could be wrong, and, they double down, and he sticks with them for another year.
Yeah. So let's see. The next match that happened was the TBS Championship Tournament Final between Ruby Soho and Jade Cargill. What did you think of this match?
So, I almost want to get your take first. Because I think I have the unpopular opinion on this match. So,
I would have figured that I had the unpopular opinion.
Well, okay. Let's do this. Did you like the match?
So the match itself or the result?
Oh, so you have a different.
Well,
okay. Okay.
I got to think this over. I'll just say no. I'll just say no. I didn't.
Okay. So the match itself, I thought was whatever. I saw a lot of really negative criticism against the match, saying, Jade looked bad in the match. And my takeaway is she's only been wrestling a year. So, and wrestling is hard. So, we've seen bad wrestling matches on AEW before. That is nothing new. So
that is true. But do those bad wrestlers get belts?
Well, it depends on how good of a wrestler you think someone like Nyla Rose is. Some people don't think she's a very good wrestler.
Well, I would basically agree with you on that. But at the time that she got the belt, the women's division was very small, and they didn't have much to choose from. Now they've got their women's division has grown a lot. So I want to go on record just to say I don't dislike Jade Cargill. Mm-hmm. I think she's got a good I don't want to call it gimmick. I like her angle, and I like how she portrays herself. I think I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think she's a good wrestler. And in this match, there were a lot of spots where it just, to me, looked like she didn't know what she was doing. Like literally just didn't know what she was like, okay, what am I supposed to do next? And it made the match seem slow, and it made the match seem forced is not the word. I'll just go with forced.
So, I'm not going to say this is a 5-star match. I'm not going to say it's a 3-star match. Like, I don't know what to rate this match. I also don't 100% know if Ruby Soho was the best choice of opponent, because I think Jade looked better in the Thunder Rosa match.
I will agree with that.
So then there is a chance too that because, okay, I like Jade. I like Jade's character. I like her look. I like her presentation.
That's what I was trying to get. Her character. I like her character is what I was trying to say.
I like her presentation. I like the idea of a new up-and-comer being the first TBS Women's Champion. I loved her Storm cosplay. That cosplay was amazing.
Yeah, her cosplay was great. And I also like the idea of an up-and-comer getting the belt. I just think if her in-ring skill was better, I would not feel as bad about it.
The thing I was going to say about that too is, like, she may have been in her head, this was a big spot, and so the pressure may have just, kind of
could have been
got to her. I don't know. Her being green and her being so new to wrestling, I'm gonna give her a pass just because I couldn't do it.
Sure. Now, I mean, I give her a pass for being a part of the company and letting them work out her kinks. Yeah. I just don't think she should have a belt.
Yeah, I don't know.
There are other folks they could have gave that to.
They could have. I mean, yeah, like if you gave me the original brackets and you told me to pick who I wanted it to be in the final or to win the whole thing, I would have wanted someone like Serena Deeb, or I wouldn't give it to Thunder Rosa because I want Thunder Rosa to take the women's title from Britt Baker. I wouldn't be upset by giving it to Ruby, but I think them giving it to Jade is signaling that, one, the company sees a lot in her potential, and two, that may be the level that title kind of hangs out in.
Yeah.
Not entirely sure. It could become something completely different later, but
I mean, if you're going to give it to somebody up and coming, I would have gave it to like Red Velvet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have been if the storyline had been leading. It's hard to do it now with the way the story was told throughout the entire tournament. To now just like plug a different person in, you'd have to tell a different story to get there.
Yeah,
and I'd ultimately probably be happier with that. It may. I don't know that Jade should. I will say maybe she shouldn't have been on TV as early as she was.
Yeah. I mean, I got to say, story-wise, everything about this tournament was done right.
Yeah.
Story-wise. I wish she would be better in the ring.
And I guess ultimately I care more about the story than necessarily the ring work, and that's why I'm not as bothered by this match as a lot of people were.
Fair enough. I mean, I've said my piece, and I'm moving on.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm here to enjoy wrestling, not to bitch about it.
Oh yeah, and we're all also entitled to our own opinions about wrestling too. And I also, you're not in the minority in your thought process either. I think I am really. So, but yeah, I think she'll get better. I think it just takes a little time, but
I hope she does, because I'd like to see a good Jade Cargill wrestle.
One thing I will criticize though, why didn't they show more of the celebration at the end of the match?
Yeah.
That's been AEW won't let anyone celebrate. They cut away.
There was the whole thing with the little kid with her little girl. I thought that was cool, but I was like, well, okay, that's over with.
Yeah. I mean, it's because Dynamite, they're trying to pack as much as they possibly can into the show. I get it, but they have a history of not letting big moments linger.
Yeah.
So I wish they would get better about that. But
yeah.
Well,
they can't all be New Japan.
No. Yeah. There's a good. Usually at the end of a match, there's a good 30 more minutes of.
Yeah, exactly. So the last match of the night was the tag title match. That one ended. I was actually surprised with the way it ended, actually. But that also ended somewhat. It made me nervous. Because, I mean, if you haven't been reading the news out there, folks, Ray Phoenix got hurt, like legitimately hurt.
Yeah.
And it kind of, like, the way he landed on that table, it just kind of made me cringe.
Yeah.
So initially, I thought that they had both gotten hurt.
Oh, you thought
because of the way that Luchasaurus was holding his arm.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, they just knocked each other. That was bad.
Yeah.
Didn't find out until after Dynamite was over that Ray Phoenix, in fact, actually did get hurt.
Yeah. We didn't say the match, did we? It's Jurassic Express versus the Lucha Brothers.
Sorry, yeah.
For the AEW Tag Team Championship, Jurassic Express won the title. An interesting move. But yeah, Ray Phoenix. So I had heard about his injury before I saw the match. So I saw the video of how he got hurt, and so I was waiting for it the whole match. Yeah, that was very nasty. Thankfully, nothing broken. Shockingly, nothing broken.
I guess from what happened, well, I guess what I read, it was just dislocated.
Yeah. I wonder if he's still going to need surgery on it. Because I can't imagine a dislocated elbow is going to be like an easy recovery, but
yeah. Well, hopefully he'll be back within the next couple of months, and
Yeah, I was surprised to see Jurassic Express win this match.
I really was. I mean, as a match itself, I wouldn't give it a 5-star. It was good, but it wasn't anything to write home about.
I really enjoyed the match, but like I said, I knew about the injury beforehand, so I was just watching the match, waiting for that to happen the whole time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't get to enjoy it in its purest form, but
I think my favorite part of the match was after they won, and like the entire tag team division came out.
Yeah.
And was just looking them down, and yeah, that was.
Well, then there was that weird thing too, like Jericho and Malachi Black being like up in the rafters watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Jericho's probably looking for more people to be a part of his inner circle.
Yeah.
And then maybe Malachi is kind of doing the same thing.
With Malachi, I assumed it was him because, he was involved. Okay, so Lucha Brothers were involved in Malachi Black's match with Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah.
So there's definitely like a feud going there where I think the story was going to be Brody King comes in to be Malachi Black's tag team partner to face off against the Lucha Brothers, which now it's like, okay, well, how long is he going to be injured? And I guess they'll have to pivot to new opponents. But, you could just pivot to Malachi Black and Brody King to the Jurassic Express if that's the direction they're going.
Yeah.
And yeah, all the tag teams coming out was cool. I liked seeing all that too.
Yeah, it was fun. So Rampage was on Friday night. Three matches. Really the only one that I think, the only one I thought was really interesting to watch was the opening match between Adam Cole and Jake Atlas. I thought that was a good match. I really like the way that Atlas works in the ring, and they worked really. I thought they worked really well together. They had a couple of spots where they kind of stopped and just looked at each other like, like, okay, that's where you're going, huh? But yeah, it was a fun match to watch. Another unfortunate injury, apparently.
So between this show, because this was filmed the same night as Dynamite, so that's two big injuries on the same show.
Yeah.
And the Wrestle Kingdom injuries, which we'll get to later. There was WWE injuries, like Drew McIntyre apparently is going to be out for a very long time for whatever injury he sustained. Like, it's just been a really bad week for injuries.
It has.
And this is another one that I knew Jake Atlas had been injured in the match before I saw the match. So it was another one that I was like watching it, waiting for when the injury is happening. Luckily, it seemed to happen at the tail end of this match too.
Yeah.
Because the match was fantastic. I knew the name Jake Atlas. I'd probably seen one or two NXT matches he had done. But
I had heard the name, but I can't remember seeing him doing any work. He may have been in NXT after I already stopped watching.
He wasn't there very long, I don't think. And it was towards the end when I even stopped watching. So, he looked so good in this match, though.
He did.
His moves were fantastic. He made Adam Cole look tiny.
He did. And I remember a couple of times I'm like, this guy can move for a big guy.
Yeah. He's very broad, like chest and shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
And then when I was watching the two of them in the ring, I was like, Adam Cole has really little arms. I didn't realize his arms were that small.
No, it's not that. It's just Atlas is a really big guy.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. Because I've never noticed that before. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I can't say it enough. I felt like they just had really good in ring chemistry together.
Yeah, they're really good together.
And then, of course, Adam Cole won.
Yep.
Got him with a submission.
Yeah, that was so. Jake Atlas had an issue with his knee. You could. I saw it in the match. I was like, oh yeah, you can see where he goes down. He's holding the knee really bad, and Cole was setting up to do the Panama Sunrise, and
Yeah.
Jay couldn't even get up to do that, so he put him in the most ginger leg lock you could ever imagine, and he tapped out very quickly. So
yeah,
Jake Atlas said this week he's like, I'll be back soon. I think he said like my knee is going to be okay. So I'm hoping it just means that it wasn't as bad as it seemed in the moment.
Yeah,
more of a strain than a serious like tear or anything like that. So.
Were there any other matches on Rampage you wanted to talk about?
All I wanted to say is Hook had a match with Aaron Solo, and Hook continues to look good, and
he does. He looks good, and I thought it was great when he took out QT.
Yeah. Oh man, that looks so good.
That was entertaining.
He is very crisp in his style. He is very. Those moves look good when he does them.
Yeah, they do. He's got a career ahead of him. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. There was a Battle of the Belts Saturday.
It was. I enjoyed seeing Dustin in a title match.
Yeah, so the match was originally going to be Cody versus Sammy Guevara for the TNT Championship. And then Cody got COVID and had to stay home. So they did an interim TNT Championship match. So my guess is it just means that whenever Cody's better, it'll be him and Sammy Guevara again. So it makes sense to put the belt back on Sammy to maintain the story so that you can have the Cody match again.
Yeah.
Later. So I didn't really think Dustin was going to win. But
no,
important.
I didn't think he was going to win, but it was good to see him in a high profile match.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Dustin Rhodes.
I really like him, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you wanted to talk about the women's title match, didn't you?
I did. So Riho went up against Dr. Britt Baker for the AEW Women's Championship. I thought it was a really good match. It's probably my favorite Riho match in the last few months since she came back. I thought it was a really good defense by Britt. A lot of interference by Jamie Hayter and Rebel.
Yeah,
which I think they've been teasing the Jamie Hayter Britt Baker split for a while now.
Yeah, they have. And
this match might have been the one that's like that's the next step,
Yeah, I think it's continuing that story.
So, yeah. I thought the match was really good. I liked Riho here more than I have in a lot of matches lately. And in this feud. I always think I get a kick out every time they say that Riho only weighs 98 pounds.
Yeah, she looks like it too.
Yeah. Luckily, Britt's only like 130, so she doesn't like dwarf her in those matches. But
right.
But yeah, I thought it was a good match, and it was kind of what they were building the Battle of the Belts around anyway. So
yeah,
it's probably my favorite defense she's had.
Really? Wow.
I don't know that she's had a lot of great defense matches. Now, winning it was probably her best match, but in this reign. But who did she defend it against? She defended against
Thunder Rosa, Ruby Soho. Those are the two that come to mind.
Tay Conti.
Yeah.
Did she defend against Red Velvet too? Maybe. I don't remember.
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of the women's division has been focused on the TBS tournament lately, and so Britt's kind of taken a back seat.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's worth mentioning.
Okay. Cool.
So, should we get in?
Enough talk. On to the main event. So, Wrestle Kingdom. This was my first Wrestle Kingdom. As far as watching it, I mean, there's been times when I've like caught a match from years past, just because I've heard so much about said match, and I just go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But as a complete pay-per-view, this was my first Wrestle Kingdom. So, it didn't disappoint.
I was gonna say, what was your overall feelings towards without getting into matches?
Okay, I think it was too long.
Yeah.
There was too many. There was too many matches.
10 hours is too long for you?
It's just there's no reason why that thing should be 2 days long. But aside from that, I really enjoyed. There were a lot of matches that, like, I don't think we're going to be able to recap all of the ones that I enjoyed, but there were a lot.
Yeah, so I've watched the last I don't know how long I've been watching New Japan. I'll just say this: the last 2 years, I took off of work so that I could watch Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah,
because they air here at 4 a.m. or in the States, it's 4 a.m. whenever they start. So this is probably maybe my 4th or 5th Wrestle Kingdom watching the entire thing. This is the third two night Wrestle Kingdom. The first one I stayed up and watched the first night. I didn't stay up and watch the second night. I caught it later. And then last year's, I took the day off of work so that I could watch it first thing when I got up.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to get spoiled.
Right.
This year, it was during the week, so I didn't have to take time off of work. So, and then I still waited a couple days to watch it because, unfortunately, New Japan has been not the most exciting this year. But overall, I agree. It doesn't need to be 2 nights. That first year, I thought it was cool. But then when they announced it for the second year, I was like, oh, they're just going to keep doing it this way. Now, that being said, before they went into 2 nights, they were like 6-hour shows. So, but these were also really long because they had a lot of tag matches at the start of both nights.
They had a lot of tag matches.
And I don't know that they needed to do all of them, but I have a lot of opinions on a lot of the stuff that happened.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we just go? Let's start with night 1 and go down the list. And if we've got something to say about it, we'll say something about it. If not, we won't.
Yeah.
So starting off was the New Japan Rumble.
Yes, the King of Pro Wrestling 2022 trophy.
That's right.
Rambo Battle Royal.
Rambo. So we had there was a lot of competitors in this one, which is the idea. And then the 4, like 2 of the 4 that made it to the end, I was not surprised. The other 2, I was like, really, them? Of all of those people you had, these are the 2 you pick. But yeah, Toru Yano, I was very happy to see him,
of course,
make it through. Suzuki, of course, I was really glad to see him make it through. But then Chase Owens and Sema, it was odd. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So the King of Pro Wrestling trophy is essentially a joke designed to give Toru Yano something to do all year. So it's one of those things where it's like you don't want anybody good to win it because you don't want them to really have to do anything with this trophy. You just want it to be Yano and whoever he's goofing on.
Yeah.
Suzuki winning this, I was like, oh, okay. So they got nothing else for Suzuki to do right now. Chase Owens just means that I don't have to watch Chase Owens.
Yeah.
And Sema or Sema.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
Okay, I asked you this too. I was like, when was the last time we saw him in AEW? And you said
I'm
what?
pretty sure it was like 2 years ago.
Did he just wind up getting stuck in Japan because of the COVID restrictions?
Couldn't tell you.
Or is he not under contract with them anymore? Because like Strong Hearts were showing up in AEW quite a bit early on. OVE, I think, was the company that they were representing. But now he's like also part of something called GLEAT. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it doesn't say anything about him being signed to either company.
Yeah.
That is All Elite or New Japan.
Yeah.
It just has him, like the Wikipedia article about him had mentioned that he's working for Oriental Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah, which is the Chinese wrestling company.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I found it odd that, well, I mean, number one, I found it odd that he was even in this match, but for him to make it to the final four, it was like, oh, okay. That was odd.
Yeah, the surprise entrances here were Chima and Tetsumi Fujinama, who was at the very first New Japan show, I think is what they said.
Yeah.
He's been around for 50 years in New Japan, so that's wild.
Crazy.
I mean, he looked like he was also like 70 years old. So
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
But you know, it's a battle royal. It's a tradition in New Japan to have a battle royal at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I would like some more surprises, but you know, COVID restrictions makes it harder.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully it'll be better next year.
God, I hope so.
Now the next match, the one that came on after this one, if my lineup card is correct, was actually one of my favorite matches of the night.
Oh, nice.
And that was, I'm referring to Yo and Show.
Yeah.
Man, that was a good match. I don't see, up until, oh man, I want to say probably September, like when I first started even looking at New Japan, maybe just kind of lightly touching it. Yo was one of them that I saw, and I'm like, man, he's pretty good. But I didn't see enough of him because I don't recall him being in the G1.
No, he's a junior, so he wouldn't. So,
okay.
He'd been in the best of Super Juniors.
So yeah, I didn't see a lot of him, but when I did see him, I was like, he's good. And seeing him at Wrestle Kingdom, man, he's amazing. He's very skillful, a lot of fun to watch, and seeing him go up against basically his arch rival.
Yeah. Former tag team partner.
Right.
Now mortal enemy.
Pretty much, yeah. And that was just a good match to watch. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually a really big Show fan before he went heel. I was really, really into Show. He had a really good standing in the 2020, I think, New Japan Cup is what he was involved in. And he just looked really good in that.
Yeah.
And then, he turned into a bad guy and he's part of House of Torture. So that means he has to cheat all the time.
Yeah. Well, so, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I like Show too.
Yeah.
So, just seeing two of these in the ring together fighting each other, that was, it's just all, all good fun. but yeah, I mean, that's that's an example, at least on my end, of um, the way that they've been able to tell a really good story.
Yeah.
Because even like a casual New Japan viewer like myself, I understood. Okay, he turned on him, and now there's this like bitter rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of times, to me, it feels like they're just throwing people together.
Yeah.
Because I don't know a lot of the backstory.
Yeah, there's a very much a sport-like presentation with New Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And so them to do like a grudge match like this is pretty rare, especially at Wrestle Kingdom. So it's pretty cool to see this type of match. I think it was smart to start the show with this match because technically the Rumble is on the pre-show.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a good match. His outfit looked fantastic. Sho's faces were hilarious. Just like plugging his ears while Yo's music was playing was just hilarious. But and it doesn't seem like it's over because it looks like this feud's going to continue.
It's going to keep going. But good match. Next match was a tag match. Was this Bullet Club versus Chaos?
This was Hiroshi Tanahashi, Rocky Romero, and Ryusuke Taguchi versus Kenta, El Phantasmo, and Taiji Ishimori. So this was a Road to type match. This is the type of match that I don't think should have been on Wrestle Kingdom.
A road to what?
Oh, you know how New Japan does these Road to whatever event is coming up. So this should have been a Road to Wrestle Kingdom match, and they're the matches. They're the shows where it's all tag matches, and it's just to progress the storylines for all the opponents. So this didn't need to be on the card. This is a road. A lot of these tag matches very much felt like Road to matches. So, yeah. And then this match ended in a DQ. So
yeah, and
Tanahashi snapped and laid into Kenta with a chair.
Yep.
I don't have any thoughts on this match other than
it was
didn't need to be here.
Yeah. I mean, you may not feel the same way, but I feel like most of the tag matches didn't need to be there.
I'd agree. Besides the title matches, but yeah.
So after that, there was another title, or not another title match, but another tag match. Will Ospreay, Jeff Cobb, and the Great O'Khan versus Sonata, Bushi, and Naito.
Yep. And I guess this is the first time we've seen Ospreay in New Japan since he's been gone. And the first thing I thought when I saw him was, I'm glad he's been gone.
You don't like Ospreay, do you?
No, I don't. He's a very talented wrestler, but I do not like his characters, his gimmick, how he sounds, how he sounds in the ring. As far as like even just the way I don't like a lot about Ospreay other than he's a good wrestler. But even he takes me out of every match he's in.
In most cases, I can agree with that. As far as being taken out of the match, or what do you mean by taken out of the match?
I don't find myself enjoying the match as much as I should.
Okay.
Because of how he's acting.
Okay.
Because it's him and because of how he's acting. I get it. I'm probably being worked. I also don't necessarily as a person, I'm not a big fan of him either. So like, that probably is baked in as well.
I can
So
understand that. Yeah, I mean, I get
yeah,
it.
he's
I
off-putting to me.
yeah,
That's what he is.
I would agree with you. I don't particularly care for his character, or the way he portrays himself, but he's good in the ring, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, his in this match, he spent most of it not being in the match on purpose. Didn't want to be a part of it. But this is another tag match that I was just not into, and it was like it didn't need to be there.
No, it didn't. It's another Road 2 match.
The
Okay.
next match, on the other hand,
Woo!
oh man, this is one that you and I had both been waiting for, and we didn't even
Yeah.
know who both the opponent, both the competitors would be, until at least in my case, until I started watching it.
Yeah, same. I didn't know he was going to be in it until I watched it.
So it was Shibata versus Ren Narita. And
so,
man.
So when Ren Narita came out, I was like, okay, I get it. I totally get it. Storyline, this makes perfect sense. Ren Narita is a young lion who works in the LA dojo, where Shibata is a coach and a trainer. Makes perfect sense that Shibata would want to have a match with one of his students, especially his first wrestling match.
Yeah.
So this was supposed to be a catch rules match.
Mm-hmm.
And then Shibata gets on the mic and says, I'm changing the rules. This is a real wrestling match. And so they proceeded to have a real wrestling match.
Yeah. So
and then I was like, okay, it could only be someone like a young lion or a lesser known person, because the important part of the match is that it was a real wrestling match.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a good match.
I loved it. I loved it.
It was great. I mean, you can kind of tell that these guys work with each other often, because they just kind of, their chemistry was really good together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Ren Narita was actually even almost dressed just like Shibata.
Yeah.
Even his hair and facial hair were like groomed almost the same way too. So I could see in the long run, Ren Narita kind of becoming the wrestler of his generation.
Yeah.
So, okay, Shibata was one of my absolute favorite wrestlers in New Japan, period. I was hardcore into him. I loved his matches. I loved his style. He had this very no-nonsense, stiff style.
Mm-hmm.
And his injury with the subdermal hematoma, forcing him into retirement, it nearly killed him. They said he had like an 80, what was it, less, there was an 85% chance that he was going to die. So there was really only like a 15% chance he was going to live, and he did. And so
just to see him back in the ring after that it's
amazing. It
is
the amount of work and effort he put into it. It's amazing that he was able to. And
when you think about it, it's like almost close to Bryan Danielson caliber, because nobody thought he was going to come back.
Yeah,
I mean we didn't think he was going to die, but but we never thought we'd ever see him in wrestling again.
So when Shibata's music hit, I was immediately just emotional. He is someone I very much was a fan of, and then just having his career cut so short was just like heartbreaking. So the first time he came out, 2 years ago and just said, "I am alive." Like that got me. So every single time Shibata has appeared, I am just like an emotional wreck. So
and then he came on the when he had that exhibition match with Zack Sabre. That was oh gosh, what was that? Was that G1? No,
yeah, it
that
was
was
like the
Paul,
G1.
or wait, that was Power Struggle, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the same one that no, Zack Sabre Jr. fought. It was the G1 final.
No, you're right. Yeah, it was a G1 final. Yeah.
And yeah, so like when they were like it's gonna be a catch match, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I'm happy to have him back. I don't. It doesn't have to be a real wrestling match. It's fine. And then when, so I watch the Japanese commentary whenever I watch New Japan shows, primarily because, I like how the Japanese commentary sounds more than the English commentary. That being said,
I haven't tried that.
So it just hits me emotionally harder, or like I feel the matches more compared to the English commentary. Kevin Kelly's an amazing commentator, but he never gets me emotionally invested in the matches. So I watch the Japanese commentary, and so naturally, when he picks up the microphone, I don't speak Japanese, so I don't know what he said. But the reaction told me, "Wait a minute. This is gonna be a real match. He changed it. It's gonna be a real match."
Huh.
All the hits were there. He did the drop kick into the corner. He did some. Narita did headbutts to Shibata's like collarbone area, so he wasn't like hitting him in the head.
Yeah.
But Shibata did his finisher, which was the sleeper hold, and then goes right into the penalty kick. Just he had to win this match.
Yeah.
This is the perfect opponent for him. This is the perfect way to do it.
Yeah.
It apparently there were reports. So okay, there's conflicting reports about what happened. Dave Meltzer says that apparently he changed the rules on his own, and the people in the back were going like, "Oh no, what's happening?" Freaking out, and everybody was like, "What is he doing? How is he doing this?" Then there's conflicting reporting from the Voices of Wrestling, which they have a connection. Apparently, they have like a Japanese connection, and the Japanese connection was no, that was 100% planned. So I don't think he would have just done that because I don't know. I don't think you can just do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. That thing seems a lot more planned out as a show. For something like that to happen.
So I think it was fully planned, and just Dave Meltzer got worked too. But yeah.
So after that match, we got a bunch of tag matches.
Well, actually, you skipped the Evil versus Tomohiro Ishii for the Never Openweight Championship.
That's right. I forgot about that one.
Or it's a House of Torture match.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just turned into you're right. It just turned into it kind of turned into a tag match, but not really a tag match. Just turned into a free for all.
That's how all these matches go.
As a match, it didn't really do anything for me up to a point. Like when it turned into the free for all, it got really interesting.
I mean, the match started with chairs, like immediately.
Yeah.
Like outside of the ring, but yeah, it's an Evil match. It's what they do. It's just what Dick Togo gets involved, and that's just how it goes. Sad because I love Ishii matches. Ishii is one of my favorites in New Japan as well, and I'm sad to see him lose the title. He beat Jay White for the Never Openweight. Just turn around and lose it here, but okay. But yeah, I wanted to mention that people hated that match. It was probably the most hated match on the whole weekend.
Because of the result.
Just because it's an evil match where Dick Togo interferes the whole time. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, moving on now, we have another tag match. This was the World Tag League winners, Haruki Goto and Yoshihashi versus the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, Dangerous Tekkers, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi. Good match. I don't love Goto and Yoshihashi.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Dangerous Tekkers fan. Goto has never really done it for me. Nothing against him. He is a good wrestler, and I've seen great matches by him, but I just don't connect with his matches usually.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And I mean, usually I like Zack Sabre Jr. matches. So this one did not turn out the way, just as a match, what didn't move the way that I thought it would. I thought it would be a lot more entertaining. Well, not necessarily entertaining, just kind of fun to watch, just because I like to watch Zack Sabre Jr. But yeah, it just seemed like it was not one of his better matches.
No. And it looks like Dangerous Tekkers are going their separate ways. It looks like they're going to start focusing on solo wrestling going forward, which I guess is time. You know, they've been a pretty consistent unit for about 2 years now. So Zack Sabre Jr., I think, is kind of ready for that next level. I wonder if we should do predictions for next week's top 5. We'll have to figure out that, but I could see Zack Sabre Jr. having in 2022 probably one of his best years as a solo wrestler. I hope so. I mean, I hope so, of course. But
I will tell.
Next, we have Hiromu Takahashi, the winner of the Best of the Super Juniors tournament, against IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion El Desperado. What do you think of this match?
I kind of zoned out on this one. I didn't get a whole lot of it, which was also kind of disappointing because I actually wanted to see El Desperado. But it just didn't it didn't switch me on the way that I thought it would.
I love this match. I look forward to the juniors matches because they're usually the fastest paced matches on Wrestle Kingdom. I am a massive Hiromu fan, but Desperado needed to win this.
Yeah. That could have been part of it too. I'm actually not a very big fan of Hiromu. I don't know.
I am. Desperado has, over the years, kind of been like, he's been around for a really long time. And I think even in one of their backstage interviews that he said he and Hiromu were in the same class. So that puts them roughly the same age and in the same time period. They were young lions. But Desperado has kind of like languished behind Hiromu. Hiromu made like a really big name for a really long time, and Desperado was, I don't know, he came in with Suzuki-gun when they returned to New Japan a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then he kind of just hung out in the tag team division, junior tag team division with Yoshinobu Kanemaru, who I do not like. He's the whiskey guy.
If I'm remembering right, he spent a lot of time in the G1 against Young Lions.
Kanemaru? Oh yeah, this year, yeah, he did. Or are you talking about Desperado?
I'm talking about Desperado.
He did. Yeah, I think he wrestled some young lions in the G1, and then he was in the Best of the Super Juniors. But he's the junior. He's the junior heavyweight champion, and I think he's one of those guys that like he kind of needed to prove and win on this big of a stage because he hadn't won at this level before. So, watching this match, I love the finish. Just if we're ranking the matches, this is in my top 5 of Wrestle Kingdom for sure.
Okay.
But now for the main event, we have Kazuchika Okada versus Shingo Takagi for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. This is the main event.
Yes. This was the main event for night 1. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good match. I mean, I haven't really seen a lot of Okada matches that weren't like good matches.
Right. Yeah.
And this was definitely no exception to that rule. But yeah, these are two, really good New Japan wrestlers going for the title, and it was a good match. Probably possibly the best match of the night.
Yeah, as far as like strictly match wise, yeah, I'd say this is my favorite match is Shibata, but the best match is this one.
Technically, from a technical standpoint, is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, outstanding. I mean, Okada is probably one of the greatest wrestlers.
I mean, he's Okada
in the world.
Yeah.
Right. His matches with Kenny Omega are legendary.
Yeah.
But we can't forget, at the same time, he was still having 5-star plus matches without Kenny Omega that same year. So he pulled a great match out of Bad Luck Fale that year. So Okada is a once in a generation talent, I think.
Yeah.
Going into the match, I don't think it really dawned on me how much I do not like the World Heavyweight Championship. Like, the design doesn't bother me. That's not the thing that really bothers me. It's more of, it's technically a new title and it technically has a new history because they show the little fanfare video beforehand where they show all the champions. And when they started, it was like, there's only been 3 World Heavyweight Champions. The regular IWGP Heavyweight Championship has a very long history. So starting over with a new title and a new lineage, it hit me. I was like, oh, it is different. I mean, you can like carry it on him, if the top champion in the company is still the top champion in the company, regardless of what the title's called. But
right.
Yeah. I didn't realize they were kind of treating it that way until this match, but the story going into this was, Okada had the 4th generation championship, the world or the heavyweight championship. And, after the G1, he started carrying it around claiming, he wasn't claiming himself as the IWGP heavyweight champion, but he was not recognizing Shingo as the world heavyweight champion. He wasn't recognizing the title.
Right.
So the disdain they had for each other going into this match was just so you could just see it on their faces when they got in the ring. I loved this match. This is an Okada match.
Yeah.
So it was structured like an Okada match. But I love how these matches are laid out.
Yeah. I loved, as as good as the match was, I kind of enjoyed the lead up to it more than the match itself.
The build up.
Yeah.
It's a really good build up. I mean, but the match is what it's all for. So
yeah. For sure.
It was technically a clap crowd, but the crowd reacted. You could hear them, when they're technically not supposed to be making noise outside of clapping, but you definitely heard some voices in that crowd.
Yeah.
Okada wins. He was the champion, and so he moved on to night 2.
Yep. He was on the night 2 against Will Ospreay.
So
that does bring us to night 2.
This show had a lot of tag matches.
It did.
And I didn't care about the first one. I called it the old guy party. So it's Jado Geto, Bad Luck Fale versus Tomoki Hanma, Togi Makabe, and Yuji Nagata. It's a dark match, so it doesn't really matter, ultimately. The next match was Hiroyoshi Tenzan, Satoshi Kojima, and Master Wato against El Desperado, Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Taka Michinoku. This match is notable because Master Wato made El Desperado tap out.
Yeah. That was a little surprising.
Especially after he, just had that great match the night before, but whatever. Taps out on the dark match.
Yeah.
These are all dark matches, so they don't really matter. Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr., and Doki versus Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, and Shingo Takagi. This is just all the losers from the night before get to wrestle each other. Which is really how it went. So the first real match on the show is Ryusuke Taguchi and Rocky Romero versus El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori versus Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship.
Yep.
Any feelings on that one?
Not really.
Yeah, it was fine. I did.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a decent match. It just wasn't. There was a lot of man matches in this night.
I was surprised to see Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask retain.
Yeah,
but they kind of just won it, so I guess it makes sense. And also, I don't know, the rest of the team was teams were whatever. I mean, I would have been mad about El Phantasmo and Taiji winning, but it's fine. Keep the tag titles on them. I don't mind.
I would have been okay with the Mega Coaches winning, but
to become the 69th junior tag team champions.
Yeah. I like Rocky Romero, so I would have liked to have seen.
I enjoyed their interview of the backstage on the first night.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So the next one's a really cool match. So you asked me, he's like, "Oh, there's a women's match."
Oh, right, yeah, the one from what they call it, Stardom.
Yes. Yeah, it was Saya Kamitani and Tam Nakano versus Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani. Stardom is owned by Bushiroad, who also owns New Japan.
Yeah.
And so over the last couple Wrestle Kingdoms, they've had these Stardom showcase matches on Wrestle Kingdom, but they've been dark matches they didn't broadcast. Because there's a broadcasting deal with Stardom and some other television network that they just couldn't air the matches.
Okay.
So this is the first year they got to air them, and it made me want to watch Stardom really bad. And I don't know that I could fit time in to watch.
I wouldn't mind watching it, but I don't have that kind of time.
No. It's an all-women Joshi promotion who've had supposedly a great year. Like, they really blew up this year.
I
I
can see why. This was a good match.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun match. I love the presentation. Everyone just looked good in this match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to try and find a way to watch some Stardom this year. At least like matches that get a lot of attention. I should start watch those at least, but
Yeah.
who knows when
It
I'll
could
be
happen.
able to.
And then after that was the continuation of the King of Pro Wrestling trophy match with Suzuki, Toriano, Chase Owens, and Sema. And like you mentioned earlier, Suzuki won that one, which was kind of strange.
Yeah.
He came off of this really big year for him with his tour and all of the places that he visited, and then goes back to Japan. And I mean, what's the nicest way to say that they make a joke out of him?
So he addresses it, in the first night backstage commentary. He was like, yeah, nobody this is all the people who had nothing else to do at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I think he's disappointed that he is in this spot.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are probably disappointed he's in that spot.
Yeah. I mean, he is older, but he still is really good in the ring,
Still, I mean, yeah, look at the stuff he did just in AEW. And then he did some stuff at Impact. Then he went over and did some stuff. Didn't he do some stuff in GCW?
Yeah, he did. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, sure, he's old, but he's still, working with the best of them. I mean, he works with John Moxley, for God's sake.
And Bryan Danielson.
Yeah. See? So I just found this kind of weird. Yeah. So, I mean, like you were saying, being taken out of a match, it kind of took me out of this match because I was just like, why is he in this match?
Yeah, I don't know. Unless they just think it's funny to have him in this kind of match because he's such a serious wrestler.
Yeah.
That it is funny that he's in this kind of match. But now he won this thing, and now he's going to defend it.
Yeah.
I mean, if it turns into just like, no, because the whole point of the King of Pro Wrestling matches is that they're like, are these gimmick matches basically?
Yeah.
Like all of the matches are gimmick matches. And so unless it's like her, Suzuki only wants to defend it in like brutal, technical, hard hitting matches, then okay. But I don't think that's going to be the story. It's going to be Yano trying to win it back in a week,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that, we had the Never Open Weight 6-man tag team championship.
Yep. We have the House of Torture defending their championship against Haruki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Yo.
Yeah.
It's a House of Torture match, so
Yeah. So it was a lot of cheating going on there.
Yep. They retained.
Yeah.
They've got all the Never gold. Still.
That's right.
It's fine. Goto and Yoshihashi have the IWGP title, so that's a more prestigious title, though.
That is.
Right after that, though, the Noah crew came to the ring in all their tracksuits.
Yeah.
And they all looked badass and called out New Japan, and Shingo came out with the rest of Los Ingobernables, and it was Bushi and Hiromu mainly.
Right.
But it made me excited because I don't know I know Muto, but I don't know, and Nakajima, but I don't know anybody else in Noah. So I'm looking forward to that show whenever it goes up on New Japan World.
Yeah, I don't know anybody in Noah like currently.
Yeah. Our next match is the Great Okan versus Sonata, with Sonata winning this match. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
Not really. It was not. It wasn't all that memorable, to be honest.
It was really slow.
Yeah. Didn't get a lot out of it.
No, I didn't either. I like Sonata, but he's someone that I used to go, man, that guy, he's future world champ, and then over the years, I don't. It's fading. I don't know that he can. I don't know.
I'm just. I guess I'm in a period where he's not. Like I didn't know who he was until G1, and there was not. He doesn't really interest me.
Yeah.
But
and then we have Jeff Cobb versus Tetsuya Naito. Naito wins this match.
yeah.
Supposedly Jeff Cobb was injured the night before, and so then he wrestled this match injured. I don't know if this is a real injury or a story injury.
I don't know.
Dave Meltzer reported it, and I think he got worked on the Shibata thing, so I don't know if he got worked on this one too.
Yeah.
It looks like that was just the type of match they were going to have.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad match.
No, it was a good match. I love Jeff Cobb. He's a really great wrestler, but yeah, he was selling the knee most of the match. So
yeah.
I will say Naito looked great. And since his knee injury, he came back, he's looked better.
Yeah.
He supposedly lost weight because it was, being a little heavier was kind of adding to the wear and tear on his body. So he lost some weight. And
yeah, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah. And he's been talking about thinking about retirement, and he's 40. So I'm hoping not, but we'll talk more about Naito later.
I mean, yeah, he's going to be in the picture soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Next match was the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship title match between Kenta and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay, so this match has been very polarizing, as I've come to learn this week, listening to multiple podcasts, and
maybe that's what I didn't understand what you meant, because I actually have not. I'm really far behind on my podcast for this week, so I don't know what you mean by polarizing when you were asking me.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of the podcasts I enjoy, a lot of them didn't like this match. They thought it was a bad US style DQ, no DQ match. And I watched it and loved the match. And I don't know. It seems like a lot of the people who don't really watch a lot of New Japan were the ones, or maybe they haven't been keeping up as much lately, didn't like it, versus the people who watch it very closely.
Yeah.
Because all the people I heard who liked it were also the type of people who cover it extensively. So I loved this match, especially the last 10 minutes of the match. Once the gigantic ladder came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you think of the match, though?
So I have mixed feelings. I liked it as a match. Number one, because I felt like the match itself was a good match. I would go ahead and use the word technically speaking, and fun to watch. And then on the other part of that coin, I liked it because it was a Kenta match.
Mm-hmm.
But also because it was a Kenta match, I didn't care for it too much because I really would have rather have seen him in best way I can say it, and it probably won't make any sense, but I would have liked to have seen him in an actual wrestling match defending the title and not basically a hardcore match.
That's fair.
I don't particularly care for watching Kenta matches when they're hardcore matches because I don't think he is suited for that style. And I mean, a little bit of it is kind of biased because I like his wrestling style. Just in general, I like the way he wrestles. I like to watch him wrestle. So I didn't really get to see a real Kenta match.
And I'd agree with you too, though. I would rather have just been a regular match. Same. I'm not a huge hardcore wrestling fan.
So when we were talking about it over Facebook while I was watching the match, my first impressions was I don't like this because of that. But once I was able to take myself out of that mentality that, I don't want to watch him do this as a match in and of itself, it was a great match.
Yeah. Yeah.
I, of course, was a little disappointed with the result. I would have liked to have seen Kenta retain. But now, what's he going to do now? What are they going to do with him?
Well, he's very injured now.
That's true. Yeah. He
dislocated his hip, broke his nose, had back lacerations, and something else.
You're right. He got really hurt.
When he went down on that trash can, his face was destroyed. And then after Tanahashi did the high fly flow off of that giant ladder onto Kenta over the table, and then like all the blood that just went was on the table, it was just like, oh, Kenta is really hurt right now.
Yeah. So hopefully he won't be out forever. But I mean, that would be really sad because he's the whole reason I started watching New Japan. Right. I ain't watching this anymore. No, I wouldn't do that. But
and also let's remember, Dave Meltzer reported this. So is he getting worked 3 times?
That would be hilarious if it turns out that he isn't actually hurt.
I guess we'll see how quickly he comes back, but he got pulled out of the Noah show. So
yeah, he did. So
there must be some real injury there. So.
Yeah, I just hope it's not a long sustaining injury because I don't want that to be the last Kenta match that I see.
No, and we need that Shibata Kenta match. We just need it. It has to happen.
Oh, we need that, and we need the Kenta CM Punk match.
Oh yeah. Those are like the 2. We have to have those matches.
We have to have those before you retire, dude. Come on.
We also now need the Tanahashi and Moxley match. So rumors are Moxley's on his way back soonish.
I've been hearing things about that. Yeah.
Hopefully that's true. Love to. I cannot wait to. Man, when Mox comes back, the reaction is going to be.
He's gonna get such a pop.
Yeah.
Okay, so enough of that match. The last one, of course, was the main event for the World Heavyweight Championship between Okada and your favorite Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay, the Dan Lambert of New Japan.
Oh man, not that bad. Well, maybe he is. Okay, so your feelings about Osprey aside, were you able to enjoy this match?
So I will say it's in my top 5 matches of the Wrestle Kingdom. So like I thought it was a very good match. As far as I don't know, Osprey really takes me out of these matches, and I just do not care about him.
I get it. I mean, a lot of that happens to me too. Yeah, I just don't get into matches because I'm not into somebody.
People loved this match. People thought it was the best match of the whole weekend. And
yeah, I'm one of them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. He, like I said, he takes me out of it so much that I like. He had a match at the Wrestle Kingdom a couple years ago that people were like best match of the whole weekend, and I was like, really? I didn't like it. I think he takes me out of the matches so much.
Wow.
I liked everything from when they're outside the ring and like Osprey is like climbing up that like scaffolding sort of thing and does the move off of there, which was a reference to like a junior heavyweight match he had at Wrestle Kingdom a few years ago. I liked everything after that. I loved all the stuff where Okada was getting him to shutting Will Ospreay up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought this match was fantastic. But again, like I said, I have yet in my short period of watching New Japan matches have yet to see a bad Okada match.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this one was like I'd mentioned earlier. I agree with you. I don't like Will Ospreay as a character, but his wrestling is. I think he's a good wrestler, really good. I personally would not put him on the same level as, say, Kenny Omega.
No,
a lot of people might, wrestling ability wise. I would not, but he's good, and this was a really good match. There was a lot of good. There was a lot of good back and forth, and there were so many times you could tell that Will was just getting so frustrated. It's like, what do I got to do to put this guy down? And ultimately, he didn't have it in him because Okada is now the undisputed heavyweight champion.
Yeah, Okada, like, this is the 50th year of New Japan, and Okada is the perfect champion to exist during this year.
Yeah.
He was on top of the company whenever they had their biggest growth in the international market. His feud with Kenny Omega is legendary. So it needs to be Okada. I had no doubt that they were going to give it to Will Ospreay. Like I didn't think that they were going to go that way.
Yeah. I also liked at the end when Naito came out.
Oh yeah, and see, that's the thing. Like Naito and Okada were the number 1 and number 2 guys of that company.
Yeah.
Once Tanahashi started to show his age, he was the number 1 guy for a while, but he started, once he's like bumped down just a little bit, he's still at the top of the card on most shows, but like the number 1 and number 2 guys were Naito and Okada. When Kenny was not around, So Naito is probably my favorite wrestler, period, today.
Yeah, I think you've mentioned that before.
Yeah. So I love seeing these two face off against each other. In the first night post-show interviews, Naito, I took a screen grab of this. He said, "My goal for 2022 is to find my path to the January 4th, 2023 main event. I'm calling it now. He will be in the main event at Wrestle Kingdom next January."
Okay.
Now, if they do 2 nights again, it's very likely. But
hopefully he won't get hurt again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping he stays healthy this year. Him losing weight I think was a good thing. He looked great in on both the matches this weekend. So
yeah, he looked a lot better than he has.
Yeah, I can't wait for that match. I think that's going to happen at the 50th anniversary show.
So, what is the next big New Japan show?
Well, while we're here, let me pull it up. Normally, it is the New Beginning shows are usually the big ones. That's usually a series of Road to shows, as well as 3 big shows in different cities. So I want to see what if you look at the calendar, the live schedule, it looks like we have. Wow, we take a break. I don't know what these New Year's Golden Series are. I don't know if those are shows. There's a lot of them though. And in fact, that's like really all you see on the calendar is these New Year's Golden Series shows. So I don't know what those are.
Maybe we'll hear more coming down the line.
Yeah, typically New Beginning is the next big thing.
Cool. All right, so that was our Wrestle Kingdom recap. Like I said, it was not disappointing overall. I just thought it was a little long, but there were some really good matches this year. I would even go so far as to say, these matches were better than the G1 matches.
Oh yeah, and it kind of has to be. Wrestle Kingdom is the WrestleMania of New Japan, so
they gotta pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
So now that brings us to this week's top 5. So, you want to kind of explain what this top 5 is?
Yeah, so we decided on top 5 matches of 2021. I basically just thought of it as your favorite matches of the year.
That's kind of what I went with too. I mean, some of them I like. Some of my choices are like they were really awesome from a technical standpoint, but they were enjoyable matches. But then there were some other matches that weren't necessarily like great from a technical standpoint, but I liked them for one reason or the other.
Yeah, I got a couple like that too.
Yeah. So, do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
I'll start. You started the last one, I think, so I'll start this one.
And are we starting in reverse chronological order, or reverse order of preference?
Yeah, I think so. But really, yeah, I'll go with that. Okay. So I'll start with Zack Sabre Jr. versus Tetsuya Naito at the G1 Climax this year. This is the very first night of the G1 Climax.
Okay.
This is the match that Naito got hurt in and had to stay out of the rest of the G1.
Yeah.
But they just worked a really, 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 really great match together. And Zack Sabre Jr. had a great G1 too. So
he did.
It was my favorite match of his in the tournament as well. But yeah, that's my New Japan standout for.
Okay. Yeah, I none of the G1 matches made it to my top 5. But my number 5 is the first of my I liked it for sentimental reasons, I guess you could put it that way. It was a good match, but it was definitely not 5-star caliber. I am referring to a match that was at All Out 2021. And it was CM Punk versus Darby Allin.
Yeah.
I big CM Punk fan, obviously. It was great to be in the building to see his first match back in 7 years. So there's a lot of nostalgia attached to this match. That being said, it was a good match, I thought. But yeah, that was kind of one of those where I just liked it and I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, it was a great match. Important one too.
Yeah.
If we were to do a top 10, it might be in there. Yeah, for me.
Yeah.
My next pick is Serena Deeb versus Riho at the Double or Nothing buy-in. Do you remember this match?
I do not. I think. I think we may have had this discussion before, but this was the year that I actually missed Double or Nothing.
Oh yeah. So this was on the buy-in, and this was when they were in Jacksonville, still at Daly's place.
Yeah.
And they put Serena Deeb and Riho on the opening, the pre-show.
Yeah.
And they had an amazing match. Like, this was the match that made me go, Serena Deeb. I love Serena Deeb. She's an amazing. She's probably my one of my top favorite women in AEW. Like, that's the match that made me go, oh, she is incredible. And it was like, she had one of the best matches on the whole show as far as the work rate goes.
Yeah.
And it was a cold match. Like, it wasn't even a match that there was like a really big story going into. It was just going to be a match. And Deeb's had so many good matches. She had 3 great matches with Hikaru Shida. She's about to have the 4th, which that promo she cut this week on Dynamite was fantastic.
I'm kind of hoping this is going to be the end of that feud.
I think it should be, but I think it will be bigger than the last match was. I think they were holding back some stuff, but yep, I'm going with that one.
Okay, good deal. Mine is another one that was kind of a favorite to watch for sentimental reasons. Still, a decent match by any stretch. But from a technical standpoint, probably not one of the better matches of the year. Just one of my favorites. And it was a Power Struggle. And it was the title match between Kenta and Hitoshi. I'm not saying his name right, am I? Oh, jeez.
Was it Tanahashi?
Right. Yeah. So the basically the one where Kenta won the belt.
Yeah.
And so that was it was kind of sentimental that I was glad to see him put a belt on, win a belt, in a very, popular company.
Yeah.
And just another, at the time, when I saw the match, it was just like, okay, well, he's probably not going away anytime soon. Yeah, but we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah.
But that was my number 4.
All right. My number 3 is a local match. Anthony Henry versus Minoru Suzuki at PWX. All hail the king.
Nice.
So I saw this in person. Once I saw Minoru Suzuki was going to be in my area, I was like, I have to go. And I went, and it was amazing. It's a Suzuki match, so like he does kind of like the greatest hits of Suzuki.
Yeah.
It was part of his U.S. tour where he just did all the indies he could. And Anthony Henry was one of the NXT releases last year and just had an incredible match with him. Anthony Henry is a very good wrestler, very underrated. I think he's shown up on Dark. one or two times. So I'm hoping he gets to, he becomes kind of a regular there. But yeah,
That's awesome.
I saw it in person, so I think that's partly why I loved it as much as I did. But
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, of the remaining 3 of mine, I saw 2 of them in person.
Yeah,
including this next one, which is number 3. This was at All Out. It was Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers. If you remember that match, it was the cage match for the title, where the Lucha Brothers won it, took the belt from the Young Bucks. That was just an incredible match, and in so many ways. Technically speaking, I thought it was a really good match. Just kind of there was so much going on in that match. And it wasn't hard to, at least for me, even as far out as I was in the arena, I was able to keep track of everything that was going on, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And then, of course, I like the Lucha Brothers, so it was really great to see them get the belts.
All right, my number 2, I guess you would say.
Have you done your 3 already?
Yeah. You just did your 3rd.
Oh, so. That's right.
Okay. This one is from Full Gear, and it is Eddie Kingston versus CM Punk.
Oh, that was a great match.
It was one of those matches that was like, man, the build-up for this isn't very long. I would love to see a longer build-up, but it was so intense, so quick. Like, those promos that they were cutting back and forth were, especially from Eddie, were amazing. It was around the same time as the big article that Eddie wrote about his life came out too. So it was like you're already emotionally invested in the guy.
Yeah.
The match, it started off with a backhand that knocked Punk down immediately.
Yeah.
And it was a short match, but it was a very intense match. And I just loved it. Eddie Kingston was one of my wrestlers of the year. And I think he's going to continue to be, for the coming year. And just loved this match. And again, technically, it's not the best match, but
right. But yeah, that was a good match. Now that I remember that, that was a good choice. But yeah, I'd agree that build up could have been longer.
Yeah.
My number 2 comes from Grand Slam. And I am referring to Omega versus Danielson.
The 30-minute draw?
Yes. No, that was an amazing match. Those guys put on a hell of a show. 2 of, arguably the 2 of the best wrestlers active right now against each other. So how can you have a bad match with them? It was just an amazing match.
Yeah, phenomenal match. Yeah, it would probably be in my top 10 or so. Bryan Danielson will probably show up in a lot of matches in my best of this year if I went further than 5.
Yeah.
All right, my number 1 pick is the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Brothers in the steel cage and All Out.
Okay, good deal.
It was just my favorite. It was the one that I actually forgot about. And it was the one I was like, well, I have to make sure to throw this on here. And yeah, just an amazing match, storytelling wise and in-ring work. And
so my number 1 was the other one that I was present for. And this one again was from a technical standpoint was just a really good match. And I did enjoy the build up to this match. And I am referring to another Bryan Danielson match. And this was Danielson Hangman Part 1.
Yeah.
It's having been there watching it in person, I think probably made it a better match. But even when I went back and watched it again, like on the TV, it was still, I thought it was a really good match.
Oh yeah, it was a fantastic match. I love an hour long. What do they call it? A Broadway, where it you go an hour and there's the draw. Yeah, I love those kind of matches.
But that being said, and we mentioned it earlier in the show, the Part 2 was actually a better match.
I think so too.
It's going to be interesting to see if Part 2 makes it on next year's Best Of.
I almost wonder if we should keep a running list all year long, see if we can keep it.
That's my plan.
Yeah.
Because I'll forget.
Yeah, I know, right?
Cool. All right. Well, that was our top 5 matches of the year of 2021. And that does it for another episode of Around the Ring.
Have a good week.
Yeah. So next week we'll be talking, I think Dynamite's probably the only thing really going on.
Yeah, I think we needed a break. So
Yeah. This was an incredible week for wrestling. And I don't think the next one will have near as much to talk about.
Yeah. I think we need it. Yeah, we need a little lighter.
Yeah.
Lighter week.
Great. So everybody that's listening, thanks for listening, and hope to see you back next week. Have a good one.
Goodbye and good